Well, guys, welcome to another edition of the great show that keeps picking up on Tuesdays, and sometimes we might have to go into Wednesdays. It's a Gross Misconduct podcast hosted by a brother, a mentor, and a friend. Kip Gross in Arizona. Yours truly, Mark Mancini in Los Angeles. First things first, Kip, how are you today, and how can people get a hold of you?
I'm doing really good, Mark. It's still hot here in Arizona. Going to be getting out of here in a couple days, headed back to Newport for a little bit, and then maybe even go to Maui for a little bit over there and hang out for my birthday.
Oh,
KipGross.com and beagamer@gmail.com. Baseball world's crazy right now. A lot of things happening.
yeah, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah, it's definitely every year it seems to be there again.
Yeah, I just survived 3 of them last week.
Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
nice to have all your family members like in 1 week or so. You get it all over
yeah.
with. You don't have to spread it out over the
You're
year.
lucky if you still got a wallet.
Right, exactly.
Uh, Hey, we previewed it for the listeners. The Harper Manfred war. Manfred coming in saying, we want to get a cap in baseball. We want to see if we can resolve this before 27. I don't think it's going to get resolved. I think the players are going to basically tell the owners to shove it. We're not going to agree to anything you want. And if anything, give us more money. The owners, which I think are going to put on the table, get more teams involved so they can make more money. Where are these two things headed, my friend?
Well, Mark, first of all, when Bryce Harper first started in the league, I got to tell you, I was always a huge fan of Bryce Harper just because how he hustled, played the game right. Yeah, he was a bit of a dickhead to begin with. Don't get me wrong. He was young. He was the savior coming up for baseball again. And now I really like him for what he did to Manfred, telling him to get the hell out of my clubhouse. You know what? I don't care who you are, what you are in this game of baseball. You have to respect the clubhouse as an entity for the players only. And you have to be invited into a clubhouse. You can't just walk into a clubhouse because it's sacred ground. And that's why they have certain hours for reporters to come in. You just can't walk in as a reporter and say, okay, we're going to interview. There are certain hours that you get, and the same with the commissioner. I don't care if you're running the league or not. You get permission to get in that clubhouse. So Bryce Harper, I commend you fully for that. As far as the agreement coming up, the thing with the whole agreement over all the years in the Players Association, every meeting I ever went to, it was basically the same thing over and over. We're not going to have a salary cap. I mean, that's always been the big deal for the players is we're not going to get a salary cap. Personally, I sat in those meetings and I just like, why not? Why not make this baseball fair for every team across the country? And it's just not fair. I mean, you got big markets, you got small markets. I mean, the Yankees, who knows how much money the Yankees bring in every year? Who knows how much money the New York Mets bring in every year? The Los Angeles Dodgers, they got their conglomerate, that paid for the team. And then they went out and bought the Lakers for, what was it, 10 billion or something like that. Some of these teams just have too much money. I should say too much money, but they have the ability to go out and sign anybody they want to sign. And what's their consequences? Oh, they got to pay a luxury tax. I got news for you. If you can pay $1 billion for two players in for the Dodgers with Ohtani and the pitcher, you don't care about
Yeah.
luxury taxes. You don't. It's a joke. And so they need to get this right where at least where the lower teams have to spend at least so much money, and they've got to figure out some way to get this right with the other teams helping these other teams out. I know they don't want to. I get it. You bought a great team, and now it's doing great and making you billions of dollars all the time. But they've got to figure this out, Mark, because like I said, I've been saying this for at least 15, 20 years. And this is a long time I've been saying this, maybe even longer than that. Right now, I can tell you at least 5 or 6 teams they're going to make the playoffs in 4 years. In 3 to 4
Wow.
years, I can tell you right now, there's probably 5 teams right now I can tell you are going to make the playoffs in 4 to 5 years. Is that right? No, it's not right at all. That shouldn't happen. And the only reason it happens is because those teams have the money to spend, and they're going to make sure every year that they are going to have a playoff team. And it's just the way it is. And then, you can go right now and say, well, I'm not going to say that I can't name, like the Kansas City Royals, Washington Nationals, some of these other teams. You can't say that about them every year because they don't have the money to spend like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets and Philadelphia Phillies. Those teams have the
Well,
money and they're going to spend and they're going to get it the way they want.
well, here's the thing. When I look at the baseball fan, a lot of these, and I don't want to disrespect New York, LA, Chicago, and some of these big market cities, but their fan bases are built on, correct me if I'm wrong, they're built on people that pick up the fish wrap, look at it, and say, well, our team's in first place today. Let me go to the stadium. I think the baseball purists rely or it lives pretty much in Kansas City and some of these small market teams where they follow the team through thick and thin, and they could tell you more about the team than some of these guys that live in the big city. Now, can we agree on that?
Oh, no question about it. That's the whole thing, the fan base. And what you're talking about right now a little bit. I'm going to add on to that. This is another part of the game that really does kind of suck to me. Is okay. You got the New York Yankees. They're 6 games out of first place right now in their division. They're in the playoffs with the wild card right now. Yankee fans are going absolutely nuts right now because they think Boone should be fired.
Right.
All these things are going on. Hey, Yankee fans, how would you like to have the money that Kansas City Royals have every year to spend? You guys would be bitching and moaning every day of your life because they're not going to be there all the time like the Yankees. Hey, you got a team that at least has a chance every year to go to and they're going to go to the playoffs. You can mark my words right now that the New York Yankees will be in the playoffs. They've had a couple rough goes at it this year for a couple stretches, and that's why they're where they are. But when you're a Kansas City Royal fan, it's like, hey, you know what? We're doing pretty good this year, and you're
Yeah.
clapping, and you're all for your team. The Yankees and some of these other teams, no, I just don't dig that.
Well, I like your prediction on that. You're saying the Yankees. I'll tell you right now, and you can mark this date down, August 12th. The San Diego Padres are going to win the West.
Mark, it's you know what? I keep laughing because I've always said it on this podcast so many times. I said, the Padres just have that one guy on their team that don't allow it to happen. But sooner or later, man, they have so much talent on that team. They're another team.
Yeah.
They spend, they spend, they
I'll,
spend. And they'll be there at the end too. Somewhere along the line, they'll be right there.
I'll throw you another spoiler that the Dodgers ain't going nowhere. They're not winning the World Series this year. So not only will they not win the West, they're not going to win the World Series. So I think I've pissed off half of Los Angeles, maybe 3/4 of Los Angeles. But Kip, we've been doing it a long time, and I don't pull no punches. One, and second of all, when I throw these things out, I throw facts. The Dodgers are closer to hosting a wild card than they are to get the best record in the National League.
Well, there's about another 45 games left to do what they all got to do, and that's the one thing about baseball that's really hard to do is to catch a team in front of you because that team's also even. I don't care if you're on a 6 or 7 game win streak. That team in front of you is probably going to win at least half their games. So what are you going to gain? 2 or 3 games over the next 2 weeks or so, or however long it's going to be. And so it's really tough. It's really, really tough. But right now, with the Padres only back 1 game, I'm starting to think the Dodgers are actually questioning themselves whether they can win today. It used to be they'd go into the games and, man, we're going to win today. We're going to win. We got all these great players. We got great pitching. But the problem is, and I've said it for years on this podcast, Mark, that Roberts guy, that manager over there, he doesn't know how to use a bullpen. He doesn't. And I got news for you, fans out there. If you don't have a bullpen in this day and age, you don't have a team that's going to go anywhere because you keep wearing those guys out. Where are you going to get them? You're going to get them from AA now. You already got all your AAA players up, and you've ruined their arms. Now you're working on your AA arms, and they didn't go out and get any pitching during the break. So that's
yeah.
a strange one.
What's unfortunate is Dodgers have turned into the Billy Martin type of baseball where he had 5 guys in 1980. He had them throw 300 innings or whatever and burn all their arms out, and they never were the same. What the Padres have done, and this is what I've noticed with pitching, and you pitched in the bigs for 12 years, they have shortened the game on you. You get past the 5th inning, they got guys marked 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. 4 guys come in. And I saw Mason Miller just strictly blew down the Giants in the eighth inning last night, just with 102-mile-an-hour heat. And somebody might say, well, you can't do that in 2 innings. He didn't need to go 2 innings. Suarez came in. Before him, it was Estrada. Before him, it was Adam. Then they got Morjan down there. Then they got guys that can throw and give you the 5 innings in a Michael King, in a Dylan Cease. Then they got bats. They've straightened out that whole lineup, bringing in Laureano from Orioles and, Hearn from the Orioles. So they've got Fermin that can spell relief and backup from Kansas City. So I think the Padres more or less gave themselves more than a fighting chance to win the World Series at the trading deadline this year.
Oh, they did a lot, and they're showing it too right now. They're only one game back, Mark. And I'll tell you what, when they start getting these games going, and now it's it's really strange. I'm going to back up a little bit. When I was with the Dodgers, in the kitchen, where you went in and you got some food or whatever, it was
Yeah.
always sitting there. They got a bats on the wall. They're on a rack, and it was so cool. It was all of the National League West, and every day you could go in there and you'd see where you were in the division, and it showed what you've got to do and what you don't have to do. Right now, the Dodgers are walking in that kitchen right now to get some food, and they're looking at that bat rack up there, and they're seeing that they're only one game ahead right now. And I guarantee there's a lot of guys in that clubhouse, maybe not panicking, but they're looking at that a couple times, maybe three times now, like, holy shit,
Yeah.
we're not the team we've always been in the past.
Kind of like in Fenway Park, where they have
Yeah.
the standings.
Exactly. And that you see that all day long, and you see that up there, and it gets to you,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's just the way it is. And so guys have a different mentality now. There's a little bit of a panic going. God, we got to hit tonight. God, I got to pitch great tonight. And I come in relief tonight. I got to get outs right away. And when you start getting the panic mode, or even with that question in the back of your mind, things can go south, Mark.
Padres get them 6 of the next 10. So that is going to be some fine baseball starting this weekend in LA.
There won't be an empty seat in those ballparks.
Yeah. And it'll cost pretty big money to get in there too if you're not covering.
Yes, exactly. No doubt
Hey,
about it.
I wanted to talk about bringing more teams into the dance. I've talked this over with the Pirates. Like I said, you've played baseball for years. I think to create more interest, get more teams involved. The baseball purists might not want it, but I'm thinking we got this in other sports. Let's get more teams. If we got more teams, who cares if they're a little under 500? It would create more interest in the city. Teams would be selling out. And then we can satisfy the big boys that might, say, hey, we don't like this. If you win the division in back-to-back years in the first half and the second half, you get a first-round bye. Any thought to that?
Well, first and foremost, Mark, I honestly, I used to be the purist as far as, I held back when you had National League play the American League for the World Series. You didn't have any playoffs. It was just go play in the World Series. Then they added a couple more. Then you got the playoffs going. Now you got the wild card going. My whole thing, I don't care how many teams you add on. I really don't care. But one thing I would like to see is no more interleague play during the season, for one, because it's very unfair. And number two, I want to see these teams start to actually get in those playoffs. And I guess what I'm trying to say is one of the things I didn't like about the playoffs before was where they have the one game playoff at start. And that's not baseball. You're gonna have a one game playoff. Hell, the one year they made it so unfair for the, I can't remember, was it the Kansas City? Was it them? They were playing the Yankees for a one
Yeah.
game playoff or something. And Kansas City had to come from the night before when the Yankees, I think, had a day off or 2 days off or something like that to go play. It was so unfair. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to do all these playoffs, just at least make it fair for all the teams, not to just draw fans and what have you. Make it so it's fair on the field. And the other thing I've been saying for years about the playoffs, Mark, and I'll never ever go back on it. If once you start a series, there should not be days off. I don't care if you got travel days or not. You got travel days during the season. You're playing. Now what you're doing is you're eliminating your pitching staff. If you're three deep in your starting rotation, you're set for the playoffs. But some of these teams aren't set for three deep, And so they're back in it now because they get days off so they can rest those starting pitchers. And I don't like that. But man, let's I almost want to make it so it's like the college basketball playoffs. Put them all in, put them all in, but make it realistic. So you're at least playing a 3-game series with no days off, and that's where I'd like it.
I like that idea. Um, Gambling in baseball, it's affected everything. I know you wanted to talk about it last week. We previewed it for it, and now we're going to talk about it. I think anytime you have sponsorship and it has to do with gambling, now when players start jumping into the fray and trying to make a few bucks, we got a big problem with this. I think it starts at the top. I think you got to blame Manfred, and it's to start suspending guys that are gambling in baseball. Well, hell, you brought the thing to your own dance. Now you're telling everybody they can't do that. That would be the same thing if you're bringing women to a party and saying, "Well, you can't touch them."
Right. Mark, last year I went to a Cincinnati game, and as soon as I walked in the ballpark, what did I see? The kiosk to gamble. I mean, we're
Yeah,
we're talking the Cincinnati Reds here, where Pete Rose was banned for life, and first thing you walk in the ballpark, you see a gambling kiosk to go put in your bets if you want. And so here's the thing, Mark. Baseball players are very competitive people. Even when they retire, a lot of guys they haven't played long enough. They go get competitive jobs, in sales and what have you, because they get to compete still. And so what I'm getting at with this is there's so many of these ball players, they're gamblers. That's what they do. They gamble, and they get an off day or whatever. It just like you go to Florida, man. When you're in spring training in Florida, you got the dogs, you got the horses to go race. Tons of guys go because they like to gamble. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not saying it's a bunch of guys, but I promise you right now, there are guys in the big leagues right now, especially pitchers, because you got that first pitch striker ball thing going now in baseball or in the gambling world, where if you throw a strike, you can bet on it, or if you throw a ball, you can bet on it. Well, what's the easiest thing for a pitcher to do? He can throw a ball in a second to start the inning. And you've already had a couple pitchers, they've already showed them several times bouncing 55 footers
yeah,
and they've done it routinely. And so, man, you got to look at this and say, guys, what are we doing out here? And I do hope they catch him. I'll tell you, Mark, when I retired from the game, it was like 2 years after I retired from the game. Went to Vegas for a fantasy football league. We were going to meet there, and we're sitting in the casino, and somebody said, "Hey, Kip, hey, how come you're not betting on the games today?" I said, "I can't." Even though I was retired, I still felt like I couldn't gamble on these teams.
right, right.
And because you see that in the clubhouse every day, it's like, you know what? Maybe I'll get a job one day in baseball again. And if they go back and they see that I was gambling on baseball, red flag. So I just
Right.
didn't do it.
That's a good way. That's definitely a good way of looking at it. And let me ask you. I think we've talked about this before in the pre-chat. With all the connections you've made in baseball, any thought of you being a pitching coach?
You know what? Here's my take on that. And I actually did. I went to a couple interviews years back, and this was right at the beginning of when they started bringing the nerds in to the game instead of having actual baseball players being the coaches. They're hiring guys that know numbers instead of guys that know pitching and know mechanics. So I went for 4 days for instruction league, and I went out. They said, just do your thing, whatever. And I went out and I did my thing, man. Help some of these pitchers get good mechanics and teaching them some good stuff. And so on day 4 of the interview, I had to go in for the interview. And I sit down. They're going through all this stuff, and say, "We really like you. You're only up against one guy now. We've eliminated all these other guys. We're down to 2." Well, first of all, the other guy I was going to compete against was what came through the Padres organization. So I was thinking, I got no shot at this. Anyway, what I did though was I asked them. I said, if I do get this job, am I going to be able to coach, or are you going to tell me how to coach? And they said, we're going to tell you how to coach. And I said, I don't want the job. Why would you hire a baseball player that played as long as I played, knows my shit, and then say, we're going to tell you how to coach? And
Yeah.
what's the point? That's why they're hiring all these nerds, from Harvard and Yale and all these places, because all they know is numbers. They don't know
It's
mechanics. They don't
funny.
know how to pitch.
I saw a slogan the other day, and man, I wrote this thing down. It said 20% of the workforce today, corporations do nothing about. It's the people that give 100% that come in and give 80% one day are considered the slackers.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. What is wrong with that? We reward the people. And it almost runs mirror image of, what I was saying before. You run the strengths of individuals. And I've always said, you find those individuals that are authentic, got some personality, pizzazz, got relentless energy. Let them do their job. Why
Yeah.
are we trying to throw our things on these guys, especially if a guy hasn't even played in the big leagues, especially if a guy's only got maybe 2 years? He's going to tell a guy 12 years, here's how we do it.
It's just it's comedy to me. It's comical, and at the same time, all you're doing is you're hurting your organization by not having baseball players in your organization to
Right.
compete and teach the others. When I first signed, Mark, with the Mets back in 1986, I'll never forget, man. My first professional baseball scenario was I went to instructional ball where all the prospects go for the after the season's over for a couple months to play all the other prospects and other teams. And I was blown away. First of all, I never had a pitching coach until I signed a contract. I played 3 years of college ball, didn't have a pitching coach.
Right.
And I did have a guy that tried, and he was good, but he didn't know what I ended up knowing at the end by any means. And so the, the whole thing, when I got to instructional ball, there was probably 6 or 7 pitching coaches at this instructional league. And I didn't just learn from one, I learned from all of them. And that's one thing I started doing as soon as I signed a contract. I said, man, I'm doing this for a living now. I better learn this game. And so I started talking to hitting coaches. I started talking to infield coaches. I started talking to managers and everything. So I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could learn on how to play this game, because it's not about talent all the time. You got tons and tons of players out there that have maybe one or two, maybe 3 tools playing 10 years in the big leagues, and because they know the game. And these are the things I'm trying to say as far as they're hiring all these nerds for just numbers and spin rate and launch angle and how hard you can throw. Teach these guys how to pitch, man. Greg Maddux would not be in the big leagues today if he was at his best right now, at his peak in his career, because he doesn't throw hard enough to meet what they do today. But Greg Maddux is probably one of the best pitchers that ever lived, ever.
Yeah.
And now you're not gonna have guys like that come in your organization and teach the game, especially at the rookie ball and the A ball level. Teach these kids how to play the game, and that's where I am with it. Learn the game, kids. Learn the game first.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Hey, the worst mascots in baseball, I can throw a couple. And I don't know how this guy fit in this city. And you probably saw him, Yuppie with the Montreal Expos. Got to be one of the worst. I know Tommy Lasorda didn't like him. He got him banned from the game, that one game. But I don't know how they got that guy in. They could have came up with something better than that. But Yuppie from the Expos, I couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah, there's been a lot of mascots. They got different little things coming out of their heads or whatever. Some are like spaceship. You don't even know what they are or what they do. They just got to make little run around and with balls and whatever and banners and for the crowd. And I guess it all kind of depends where you come from. You got the Mets. What's his name out there?
Mr. Met, and then they added Mrs. Met.
Mrs.
But
Met, right?
you know what? I'd have fun in probably Washington, D.C., and Milwaukee, and even in Pittsburgh with the pierogi races, the sausage races. I'd be high-fiving from the bullpen the Italian guy that's coming around. I'd be trying to trip the other 3.
It's I'm glad you're bringing this up for the mascot thing, because personally, I kind of did notice the mascots if they were vocal. I shouldn't say vocal, if they were outgoing and doing their thing, like the Fanatic out in Philadelphia, and
oh yeah,
and you used to have in San Diego, you had the chicken. And those guys, they were energetic, man. They got the crowd involved. And Lasorda did. He ate them both because they used to play with him all the time, man. They'd knock him on his back or whatever, and he'd chase him and throw balls at him, and they're just laughing at him the whole time. But they can be really good. Mascots can be really good if the mascot is doing things when they should do. You remember the rally monkey with the
Yeah, I
Angels?
remember the rally monkey.
I mean, my God, they won a World Series. They got that rally monkey going. They got the crowd enthused, and there is no doubt, man. Those Angels back then, it was Anaheim Angels, right?
Yeah. The
And it
monkey
was
look. I think the monkey got hit by a few cars, but they still dragged him in.
it was just. I mean,
Hey, wake up that dead monkey.
that monkey off the ground and bring him in. I mean, just things like that. I played in Japan for 5 years, Mark, and we had our mascots, but to me, the mascots were the bands that played. We had a mascot. I don't even know what the hell you called the guy, but he just ran around a pink suit on, and when they hit a home run or whatever, every home run hitter would get a little stuffed animal as his mascot, and they give him a
Oh,
bouquet of flowers when he crossed home plate. And this is every time, by the way, they gave him
oh,
gave him these things. But the mascots can be fun. They can be a lot of fun, man. That San Diego chicken. I'm sorry that he
oh
did what he
yeah,
did. He got to had some drug problems, but at the same time, man, you get that crowd going, and next thing you know, that your baseball team out there, they're energized too, and they're ready to go.
yeah.
So I do like him regardless, but you got to be good.
Well, yeah. Well, the only thing is we're down to the last 3 minutes in football. I'd probably be divorced because I'd be, looking on the sidelines at the cheerleaders, and some of these teams, man, have some fine looking girls. The Raiderettes are cute. The Liberty Bells out of Philly, the Seagulls in Seattle. Yeah, I'd probably have to fully concentrate on the field. They'd be kind of looking at me saying, "Mark, back here." Oh yeah, okay. Just looking at the
Yeah,
skyline of the stadium here.
aren't most of these mascots picked by the fans? They get one and they say, okay, now the fans can vote on it, and the best one
Yeah,
coming through is going to get it. I always thought that's kind of how it worked, but mascots are fun, man. But you're right, these mascots is like, what is this thing? and next thing you know, it's like,
yeah,
okay, it's their thing. It's what they do. They get up on the dugouts during the
yeah,
games and
yeah.
have some fun.
Hey, what a screw job in preseason. They count the ties. So your Raiders, I saw the other day, tied Seattle, and everybody just went home. I mean, it's like then there was another tie. It's like, what's the deal with the ties, man? Why are we charging people big money to come in the stadium for a preseason game, and then we go home after a tie?
Well, they just these guys they don't. Well, now they're up to 17 games during the season, and I think what is it now? Three
Yeah,
preseason
they're going to
games
get
is all it
18,
is.
and then it'll be two preseason games.
Yeah, 18, and it's back Mark when they started doing the overtime in football. They used to not have overtime; it just went to a tie right away.
Yeah,
And they did some polls. They questioned all the players out there, and by far vast majority of the football players says we do not want overtime. We're programmed to go 60 minutes. And when that 60 minutes is over, we are finished for the week. And if you really think about it, these guys bust their ass, man. It's not long that they're actually playing, but it's go time. Every snap, it's go time. And when that 60 minutes hits and that bell rings out there, they're done. And now they've added the overtime, and it's a man college. Look at what college has done with the 2 points, and then they finally had to change that because man they were scoring shit. You could have a 20-20 game, and next thing you know, it's 60-60 in college. And so they have got it where there's no ties anymore, unless. But the problem is these guys they don't want to play. They don't want to play in overtime.
yeah, that's the deal. Unbelievable when you look at it. Um, Yeah, that's it. When you look at the whole 9 yards and everything, I guess they'd have to really look at it and see what they need to do in these sports. But I think a tie is a joke. Hey, as we wrap this thing up and we reconvene next Tuesday, any thoughts on the weekend? What are you looking forward to besides your birthday and your
Oh
girlfriend?
man, I just looking forward to getting out of Arizona here for a little bit because of the heat. It's just been a hot one again this year. You walk outside, there is such a thing as a dry heat, guys. There really, really is. I mean,
Yeah,
when the sun goes down here, I sit outside sometimes during the night, and I can actually feel a cool little breeze going through when it's still 95, 96 degrees, but because it is a dry heat. But man, there ain't nothing like getting out of here once in a while and going enjoying little cooler weather. Whether it's
We got
Newport, it's like
yeah,
what tops 80 degrees there, so it's nice.
we got some. I can't get them all, but our friend Victor from Silver Lake back up, saying there you guys go bashing the Dodgers again. We are the world champs, and we've won the title 2 of the last 4 years or whatever.
No, they
We'll
haven't.
win
No, they
another
haven't.
one.
No, they
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah.
That
I
was
think
extended spring training.
Vic is suffering from delusions of grandeur there. He doesn't realize
I
by
like Vic though.
yeah, Vic's a good one. Probably, every time he listens to us, he must crack open a few of them, and start the show. And who knows how long he's been drinking. But Vic, we appreciate you. Kip, let everybody know how they can get a hold of us. Man, oh man, we are picking up steam. We are so blessed to do this. And man, oh man, the bright lights in the big city.
Vic, you can get a hold of me at beagamer@gmail.com and you can send me the questions and I'll answer anything you
Yeah.
got for me, brother. And guys, it's so much fun doing this. Half hour went like Speedy Gonzalez today. Wow, it's come and gone so fast and very enjoyable, Mark. Very enjoyable.
Yeah. A lot of people keep reminding me about Pirates, but I said God has a plan for tough teams.
Yes, they do.
He's Kip Gross. Yours truly, Mark Mancini. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And pass the message on to all your buddies. Bye, everybody.
See you.